China is beginning to make moves against the United States of America. The United States waged a 20-year-long war in Afghanistan which ended in failure, shame, and global embarrassment. The United States has achieved none of its goals in Afghanistan, including neutralizing all threats to US soil and territory. The Islamic State is growing from strength to strength in Afghanistan, and when the time is ripe, it will strike. Joe Biden and his lackeys will not tell you this. They will claim their shameful surrender to the Taliban was in fact a resounding victory. Well, here's some more shame which the United States is about to suffer because of Joe Biden's careless decisions. Here's what's happening. China is about to establish control over one of America's most prized possessions in Afghanistan, the lifeline of the United States in Afghanistan for 20 long years. China is now about to hijack it. Donald Trump would have prevented this takeover. He even warned against China's moves after Biden ran out of Afghanistan. Today, Trump has been proven right again. Hi and welcome. This is TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Atul Mishra, and in this video, I will tell you how China is about to take over the Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan in what serves as a tight slap on Joe Biden's face. Let's begin. China is taking over the Bagram Air Base. Yes, the same Bagram Air Base which the USA's brave troops used for 20 long years. The same air base which they made their home, and the same air base through which they coordinated all their war efforts in Afghanistan. It was the USA's headquarters in Afghanistan. Today, China is looking to take over the Bagram Air Base, and there could be nothing more shameful for the United States. The Biden administration has brought this shame on America. China is rubbing salt on the wounds of America, and why wouldn't it? With a spineless administration in charge of Washington, that's what all of America's enemies have been doing of late. China is considering sending military personnel and economic development officials to Bagram Airfield, one of the most prominent American military bases during the 20-year war, according to US News and World Report. The communist country is reportedly conducting a feasibility study on the effect of such a plan as part of its Belt and Road Initiative, that is the BRI. According to Yun Sun, director of the China program at the Stimson Center think tank, given their past experience, the Chinese must be eager to get their hands on whatever the US has left at the base. China, on its part, has issued a carefully crafted denial of plans for an imminent takeover of the military airfield. However, nobody is buying the CCP's flimsy denial. China is, in the next 1 or 2 years, definitely going to play a dominant role at the Bagram Air Base. Former President Donald Trump fired salvos at Joe Biden late in August for abandoning Bagram mindlessly. Trump argued that the base could have been used to alleviate the chaotic evacuations of US citizens and Afghan allies in Kabul's airport following a Taliban takeover of the country. He also said the airfield provided significant strategic value to counter America's geopolitical rival China. He said, "We should have sent the people out very safely and we should have had Bagram open. That was always going to be. We should have kept Bagram because Bagram is between China. It has total access to China, Iran, and Afghanistan. And I guess they didn't realize that they abandoned it." Guess what? China is now about to take over Bagram. Trump even suggested that the Bagram Air Base should have been bombed and that his administration would have done it. At least China's devious plans would have been foiled as a consequence. But Biden simply does not have the will to protect American interests like Trump does, which is why China is all set to establish dominance over the airbase now. The Bagram Air Base was a strategic military asset for the United States. It isn't a makeshift establishment, but an enormous place resembling a small town. The Bagram Air Base also had a prison that housed thousands of terrorists affiliated to both Taliban and the ISIS-K that carried out the recent terror attack at the Kabul airport. The Bagram base boasted of advanced infrastructure, 2 runways, rows of hangars, barracks, and a hospital. To put it simply, the military air base was perfectly shaped to carry out an airlift of the kind that the US recently struggled with out of the Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul. Moreover, American troops had stayed at Bagram for 2 decades. They knew each and every detail about the military base and also knew how to defend it against terror attacks. If China takes control over it, for Beijing, it would be an achievement that cannot really be quantified. For the USA, it would amount to an embarrassment of the same magnitude. On July 2nd, the US vacated Bagram Air Base at the dead of the night without even warning or informing its Afghan allies that the key airbase was being abandoned. Notably, the Biden administration got the Bagram Air Base vacated abruptly even before the Afghan government fell and the Taliban took de facto control of the war-torn country. The way the US troops abandoned the Bagram Air Base demoralized Afghan soldiers too. The base's new Afghan commander too fled, and the sheer lack of coordination on Biden's part saw dozens of local looters descend upon the abandoned airbase. When local looters reached the Bagram airbase, they found thousands of military vehicles, many of them armored, and a huge cache of weapons. Ultimately, the Taliban also took control of the Bagram airbase prison and freed the inmates, which included IS and Talibani terrorists. General Mir Asadullah Kohistani, who was in charge of the base prior to the Taliban taking over the country, said he only discovered the Americans had left 2 hours after they were gone when they called from Kabul airport. What Joe Biden has received is a resounding slap on his face. China has slapped the life out of Biden. The US has never been so weak, fragile, and ashamed. Internationally, Biden has infuriated America's allies. Today, nobody trusts Washington, and China is having a meal out of the United States' miseries.